Hi, this is Dr. Bev Knox, and this is the channel for Dr. Bev Knox. Subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications to receive new psychology tutorial information. You may also share recordings from this channel. This channel is all about psychology tutorials. Learn psychology while you sleep. I am going to be starting Module 1 right now. What is psychology? I always like to start all my psychology classes with this beautiful introduction by David G. Myers. He starts by saying, once upon a time, on a planet in this neighborhood of the universe, there came to be people. Soon thereafter, these creatures became intensely interested in themselves and in one another. Who are we? What produces our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, and how are we to understand and manage those around us? Psychological science is born. What were some important milestones in psychology's early development? To be human is to be curious about ourselves and the world around us. Before 300 BCE, the Greek naturalist and philosopher Aristotle theorized about learning and memory, motivation and emotion, perception and personality. Today, we chuckle at some of his guesses, like his suggestion that a meal makes us sleepy by causing gas and heat to collect around the source of our personality, the heart. But credit Aristotle with asking the right questions. Psychology's first laboratory. Philosophers thinking continued until the birth of psychology as we know it. On a December day in 1879, in a small third-floored room at Germany's university, there 2 young men were helping a middle-aged professor, William Wundt, create an experiment. Their machine measured the time lag between people's hearing a ball hit a platform and their pressing a telegraph key. People responded in about 1/10 of a second when asked to press the key as soon as the sound occurred, and in about 2/10 of a second when asked to press the key as soon as they consciously aware of perceiving that sound. Wundt was seeking to measure atoms of the mind, the fastest and simplest mental process. So began the first psychological laboratory, staffed by Wundt and by psychology's first graduate students. Structuralism and Functionalism. Before long, this new science of psychology became organized into different branches or schools of thought, each promoted by pioneering thinkers. 2 early schools were structuralism and functionalism. Structuralism, as physicists and chemists discerned the structure of matter, so Edward Bradford Titchener aimed to discover the mind's structure. He engaged people in self-relative introspection, and introspection is simply looking inward, training them to report elements of their experience as they looked at a rose, listened to music, smelled a scent, or taste a substance. What were their immediate sensations, their images, their feelings? And how did these relative to one another? How did they simply relate to one another? Alas, introspection proved somewhat unreliable. It required smart, verbal, and its results varied from person to person and experience to experience. As introspection waned, so did structuralism. Again, I will be talking very, very slow because these series of psychology tutorials are meant for the learner to learn psychology while you sleep. I will be repeating things several times to help store this information in your long-term memory. Structuralism, again, is an early school of thought promoted by Wundt and Titchener, used introspection to reveal the structure of the human mind. Structuralism. It's an early school of thought prompted by Wundt and Titchener, and they used introspection, and introspection is simply looking inward to reveal the structure of the human mind. Now let's move on to functionalism. Hoping to assemble the mind's structure from simple elements was rather like trying to understand a car by examining its disconnected parts. Philosopher-psychologist William James thought it would be more fruitful to consider the evolved functions of our thoughts and feelings. Smelling is what the nose does. Thinking is what the brain does. But why do the nose and brain do these things? Under the influence of evolutionary theorist Charles Darwin, James assumed that thinking and smelling developed because it was adaptive. It contributed to our ancestors' survival. Consciousness serves a function. It enables us to consider our past, adjust to our present, and plan our future. James encouraged explorations of the functions of emotions, memories, willpower, habits, and moment-to-moment streams of consciousness. James' writings moved the publisher Harry Holt to offer James a contract for a textbook of the new science of psychology. James agreed and began his work in 1878 with an apology for requesting 2 years to finish his writing. The text proved an unexpected chore and actually took him 12 years. More than a century later, people still read the resultant Principles of Psychology that was written in 1890 and marveled at the brilliance and elegance with which James introduced psychology to the educated public. Again, functionalism is an early school of thought promoted by James and influenced by Darwin, explored how mental and behavioral processes function, how they enable the organism to adapt, survive, and flourish.